What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So today we got some more news relating to Limit Break expansion. We've got a new Limit Break expansion batch coming on the 9th of June 1900 PST, which is actually tomorrow as of me recording this video. So that's pretty exciting. In this video today, like per usual, let's go through all these brand new characters that are getting their expansion and discuss whether or not it's worth it. Now, before we get into that, I do want to just say straight off the cuff that you shouldn't be limit breaking expanding a character like just because you like the character or because you think it's good. You should only be limit break expanding a character if you need to do it. The amount of materials specifically for legends that are needed to limit break expand are absolutely ridiculous. So I wouldn't just be spending your materials willy-nilly just because you want to limit break expand a certain character. It is a way more mature choice to hold on to your materials until you absolutely need to limit break expand a character, or if you're in another situation where you have your materials completely capped out, at that point you want to go ahead and limit break expand so that you can then go ahead and farm more materials up. Obviously it's a great time for this to drop because treasure map is going to be dropping soon. Within 2 days of this expansion coming out, so that's good. So anyways, let's just go ahead and get into it. Of course, the silver keys are going to be available now from the new GARP challenges. If we scroll down, you can get these silver keys as rewards for completing these GARP challenges. So these silver keys are used to limit break expand rare recruit characters. So you've got legends with gold keys, you've got treasure map units with blue keys, and then silver keys are used for generic rare recruit characters. So I don't want to spend too much time on the generic rare recruits. We're basically just going to go through them very quickly and discuss whether or not they're worth it. So let's jump into it. So the first one, the guiding key characters, these are Sugo Fest exclusives. First one is going to be Legend Mihawk. Mihawk, it doesn't see that much play anymore, and that's another reason as to why certain characters you might want to hold off, is because you don't really see certain characters basically used anymore. Like this Mihawk, he is actually pretty good. But is he worth limit break expanding? Well, let's go ahead and have a look. So his captain effect does change. He now becomes a 3.75 captain, previously being 3.5. So not a very big increase there. And also boost the chances of getting matching orbs. But either way, you're not using him as a captain. So that's the main deal there. Does he get any? Yeah, he gets 1 turn of cooldown reduction, I think. Let's have a look. 4 turns of cooldown reduction. Oh, okay, that is actually really good. Yeah, so down to 13 turns. I completely missed that. 13 turns for what he does is actually pretty good. Obviously, the new captain effect, you get some statistical increases as well. So those are his base stats after he is fully limit break expanded. A lot of HP, actually. No, this guy just never sees play. And even if you do need to use him, like, the extra cooldown is nice, but you can just stall. It's not a big deal. Like, yeah, it's not worth it. Just not worth it. Next one is Lucci. I mean, without even looking at this character, I'm going to say no, just because this character literally never sees play. He is one of the worst legends in the game. Stats are actually very impressive. Captain effect becomes a 3.75 with a matching slot, 2.75 otherwise. Yeah, nothing crazy there. And then he goes down to a 5-turn cooldown. A 5-turn cooldown for what he does, like, it's fine, but it's not enough. His special ability overall just needs an upgrade. Obviously, they can't really do that because he has a 6+, unless if they give him a new super evolution in the future, but no, not very impressive. You can completely skip that. Knight of the Sea Jinbe. Now, this is actually a character that sees play very often. Like, V1 Jinbe is legitimately better in nearly every fashion compared to V2, just because this guy has amazing utility, whereas V2 Jinbe was trying to be one of those headliner main captains that you would be using, and unfortunately, he missed the mark. But then you got this guy who's just a utility god, and he has a relatively low cooldown as well, so his stats pretty good after limit break expansion. He gets a buffed captain ability as well. Goes to 3.5 times attack, 1.5 health, 15% damage reduction, which is pretty good for fighters. He goes down to a 9-turn cooldown. Wow, that is pretty impressive. Yeah, 2 turns of special cooldown, buffed captain. Look, if I had the excess materials, I personally would do this, but the thing is I just don't see the worth of, spending all of these materials just for 2 turns of additional cooldown. 11 turns is already very impressive at this current point in time, so it's not really worth spending even more materials, go down to 9. But look, if you have enough materials there, like, this character's not terrible, I would say. It's not terrible, that's for sure. Isho, which is Fuji. This guy does get a 6+ eventually, but this is only referring to the 6-star version at this current point. So with Limit Break Expansion, 1.5 HP, 3.5 to Driven with a matching slot, 1.5 otherwise, and Tandem and Recovery are beneficial. So not much actually changed. The multiplier went up very slightly. His low multiplier is still really bad. He goes down by 2 turns with Limit Break Expansion down to 14, which is not terrible. And just the stats. What are his stats looking like? Yeah, his attacks are a little bit low for my liking, but the rest of the stats are pretty good. Look, no, just no. Just skip Isho. No, he's terrible. We've got Dogstorm. Now, Dogstorm is an interesting one because the thing about this guy is that he does actually get a... he becomes very, very good for PvP in the future. And then when you Limit Break expand a character, it adds stats to his PvP effects. So in that regard, I would say, yeah, it's probably worth it. But at the same time, it's Inuarashi. You're not using him too often in generic play. 3.25 attack, strength orbs are beneficial. When you're below 30%, you get a 1.5 chain boost. Everything is the same except for making strength orbs beneficial and a slightly higher multiplier. So his captain ability is good, I would say, but low HP captains are not fun. The thing is like Sabo and Coalla are a thing, Cat Dog are a thing, they're just a better cerebral captain, so either way, special goes down by 4 turns, which is also very good. What are his stats looking like? Yeah, stats are pretty impressive, high recovery too. HP's a little low on the low end for after Limit Break Expansion, but great attack and recovery though. Look, I would say no just because in generic play you never use this guy, but in PvP, if you've got extra materials and you really want to, you know, min-max your PvP teams, he's probably going to be worth it, but I wouldn't suggest it. Cat Viper's also getting his. Let's have a look at Cat Viper real quick. Cat Viper doesn't really see that much play in PvP, unfortunately. So let's have a look at Cat Viper. He gets a buffed captain effect as well. The HP stays the same. Boosts the chances of getting a type slot. Makes Psi Orbs beneficial for strikers, and then 3.75 with a Type Orb or a Rainbow Orb. So they didn't really change much. The multipliers all stay the same, just that he boosts the chances of getting... No, I think he greatly boosts the chances rather than just a regular boost chance. So greatly boosts the chance and also makes Psi Orbs beneficial. Like, it's a decent captain, but if you've got Kaido, you're probably going to be using him instead. He goes down by 1 turn with his Limit Break Expansion. Yeah, no, skip this one. This one's not very good, unfortunately. Franky. Okay, Franky's not bad. He sees play in like Kizuna clashes nowadays. If you're running a fighter team, you can run this guy as your captain, and your fighters hit really hard. So stats looking very good. Obviously, recovery's a little low, but his HP and attack are very impressive actually. He does get a buffed captain effect, so he goes up to a 3.5 multiplier from a previous 3.25, and the rest looks pretty similar to me. 4.25 with the captain action. 38% damage reduction. Yeah, everything looks the same. It's just a slightly higher multiplier. So nothing too crazy there. He gets 2 turns of cooldown reduction with his Limit Break Expansion. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, no, I just don't suggest it. I just don't think it's worth it. I mean, Franky is still pretty decent as he is right now. It's just the fact that, like, I just don't think it's personally worth it, because when you activate his captain action, the multiplier stays the same anyway. And when you're going in for your heavy burst turns, you're going to be using the captain action. So yeah, not very impressive in my eyes. So unfortunately not very good. And Luffy and Ace is the last one. Luffy Ace, dual units. Luffy and Ace. Okay, let's have a look at this one. So their captain effect does not change, unfortunately. They get 2 turns of cooldown reduction, which is pretty good. Stats, what are their stats looking like? Yeah, pretty good. High HP, high attack and high recovery. HP's a little bit low for me. No. Sabo and Koala are a thing. Luffy and Zoro are now a thing. This character just is kind of useless if you've got Luffy and Zoro specifically, because they're just a much better unit in almost every single way. So no, I would say no, Luffy and Ace is not worth it in my personal opinion, especially if you've got Sabo, Koala, or Luffy and Zoro, because those characters are just infinitely better. So there we go. Those are all the legends. Unfortunately, none of them really stick out as being super duper good, except for Jinbe. Jinbe is the only one that I would even consider spending a key on, or if I want to min-max my PvP team, maybe Dogstorm. But currently, Jinbe is definitely the most impressive here. So we've also got 2 treasure map characters. We've got Gear 4 Luffy. So Luffy, quick. Let's see if we can find him. Here he is. We need to go to his evolution. this Gear 4 Luffy, the treasure map Luffy, right? This guy gets a limit break expansion. Stats are pretty decent. Captain effect does not change. He gets 3 turns of cooldown reduction, going down to a 12-turn cooldown. That's very nice, actually. So the thing about the treasure map units is they only really get cooldown and stats. That's the main thing they only really get. And it just depends on how often you use this guy. If you use this guy like on almost every team, which I don't know why you would, then this might be worth it for you. But personally speaking, I don't think it's honestly that worth it. Though we do have Jack. Jack is also getting his limit break expansion. Yeah, Jack the Drought. This guy right here. This is one that I might be tempted to do. Unfortunately, I don't have many materials right now, but 11 turn cooldown with limit break expansion, additional stats. Like, the fact is that treasure map characters are actually really good to run on other treasure map teams. And the thing is when characters are boosted on treasure maps, sometimes even with their fully maxed out specials, you do have to stall a little bit sometimes in order to get their specials to activate, which is why I went ahead and limit break expanded Whitebeard, the treasure map Whitebeard, on the first limit break expansion. This guy's coming out, and this also has me tempted because this is a unit that you would actually use on treasure maps to remove either damage immunity, percent damage reduction, or just deal a lot of damage to the enemy. And the fact that you have this means that you wouldn't even have to stall on treasure maps at all, like under any circumstances. So that's very, very tempting. So I would say if you have the materials and you're a hardcore farmer of other treasure maps, this is probably worth it in my personal opinion. He's pretty good. So now we've got a bunch of like generic rare recruits here. So let's go ahead and pull them up real quick. We really won't be spending much time in all these units. I believe it's Strength Marco, Protector of His Will, or is it Psi Marco? Guardian of His Will. It is this one. So Strength Marco gets a limit break expansion. He goes down by 1 turn down to 12, and that's about it. No, I don't think it's worth it. Like, a lot of these units are not going to be worth it. Charlotte Opera, oh my god. Opera, I'm a big fan of this unit. I think Opera is an extremely good rare recruit. It's just unfortunate that he doesn't really see that much play, but if you have him completely maxed out, he actually is really good. So this guy goes down to 10 turns. That's nice. And he has double special activation, which makes him really, really good. And yeah, a lot of these units just get cooldowns and stats. So Opera, he is good, but I don't really know if it's overly worth it in my opinion. So the next one is Bobbin. Now, Bobbin, a lot of people can recognize straight away that he's one of the better rare recruits in the game. He actually goes down to a 10-turn cooldown. I mean, 11 turns is already still really good for this unit. So yeah, it's only the special cooldown and stats. Like, as much as a lot of people would love to do this, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth wasting the materials just for one additional cooldown, unless if you legitimately need it in order to clear content, which shouldn't be the case. But, you know, it is what it is. Like, these are good units that are getting good limit break expansions. Hachan, like, he's honestly one of my favorite rare recruits in the game, this Hachan. But I can tell you right now, he's probably not worth limit break expanding. Goes down to 10 turns, that's very good. Yeah, look, it's good, but I don't think it's worth spending the materials on. I think it's worth saving those materials for characters that desperately need it or desperately get huge buffs from these limit break expansions. And unfortunately, a lot of these units just don't. Like Perospero, he's one of the best rare recruits in the game in my eyes. What does he get? He goes down to 8 turns. And look, 8 turns is still really fine, but look, he starts off at a 9-turn cooldown. That's already very, very good. And the thing is, he has double special activation anyway, so getting the 1 turn of additional cooldown doesn't really mean much. So yeah, look, he's cool, but I don't think it's worth it. Nami Born Again. Is this Time Skip Nami? Yeah, it is this one. It is this unit. Time Skip Nami, literally the best rare recruit in the entire game. What does she get? She goes down to an 11-turn cooldown. So honestly, 2-turn reduction, that's pretty tempting. Because like 13 turns is like, that's not super high, but it's not super low either. 11 turns though, like that's ridiculous. 11 turns is utterly ridiculous for what she gives you. Oh, dude, this is tempting. Out of all the units so far, Nami is definitely the most tempting. 2 turns is ridiculous. Ein is the next one. So Ein is 2332. So that is the Zephyr one. Yeah, the Zephyr batch one. So she gets down to a 9-turn cooldown. But again, she's another unit with double special activation. So she doesn't really need additional cooldown. That doesn't really matter for a unit like this. So I would say probably not. The next one is going to be Mont d'Or 2369. This unit is also a really good utility unit. Goes down by 2 turns down to 11. So he's a very similar situation as Time Skip Nami, but this unit sees nowhere near as much play as Time Skip Nami, but he is good. He is very, very good. The next one is going to be Bon Clay and Ivankov, so 2540. Another really good utility. Like, all of these units that we've gone through so far are really powerful. This unit only gets 1 turn of reduction. That's a little unfortunate. If this unit went down by like 2 or 3 turns, this would be almost a shoo-in in terms of units that you should probably limit break expand. 2244 is going to be Daifuku. This unit is also really good. These units are really good. Down to a 5-turn cooldown. Again, he has double special activation, and already on a 6-turn cooldown. Is it really worth limit break expanding using all those materials for 1 additional cooldown? Not in my eyes. Not in my eyes. Next is going to be Flampe, 2367. This unit does not see play automatically without even looking. I'd say no. She gets 2 turns of reduction. Her special's not terrible, but she just doesn't see play. She's not required for anything, unfortunately. 1959 is this Shirahoshi. She's really good. She is a really good unit. She only gets 1 turn reduction, though. She would have been nice with 2 turns. She's actually very similar in a way to Time Skip Nami. She's like a different version of Time Skip Nami, does a very, very similar thing, but more. But her cooldown is a little high. 13 turns is decent. It would have been nice if it was 12 or 11, but it's fine. She's good, but I don't think it's worth it personally. Unless if units get crazy, crazy reductions, I just don't think it's worth. Karina. She's very good, but she only gets 1. Okay, so no. No, unfortunately, Karina, like, she's good, but, like, only 1 turn. It's just not worth it. 2538. Let's have a look at this guy, Lucci Kaku. Lucci Kaku goes down to a 9-turn cooldown. I mean, 10 turns is already very good. The additional 1 cooldown doesn't really make a difference there. Praline, 2269. I love this unit. She's very similar to Bobbin, very similar to Usohachi, has great defensive effect removal. Only 1 turn of cooldown reduction down to 11. She's already at 12 turns, so like that's already really good. You don't need that. You don't need to reduce it any more than what it currently is. 0671. Oh my god, this is an old school unit. Old school unit Koala. Okay. She goes down to a 5-turn cooldown. She's a 1.75 fighter attack booster. Nah. Miss me with that one. 2082 is going to be Pedro. This unit is also pretty good. He is a 1.75 attack and all booster for everyone if the enemy has immunity. 12 turns is not bad. 12 turns is not bad. Yeah, like it's not bad, but I don't know. There's just too many units. There's like honestly, if I had the materials, I'd like to limit break expand all these units, but the thing is you just don't have these materials readily available, so it's just not worth it. Brook, let's have a look at him real quick. He goes down by 2 turns, but he's a very old unit that never sees play anymore. The next one is going to be Chiffon, 2304. Chiffon is not a terrible unit. She goes down to 14. That's actually not bad because her normally is 16, which is very, 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 very bad. And the thing is that she is mainly a shooter unit. Like most of the time, she's going to be put on a shooter team because shooters kind of need that support. And going down to a 14 turns means if you've got your 2 shooter captains, and then you've got your sockets, which is going to be down into a 12 turn, and then if you're on the Kizaru ship, it goes down even further to like a 10 turn cooldown. So that makes her a little more usable, but at the same time, most of the time, you're not really using her that much these days. So that's Chiffon. We're nearly finished here. 1618 is going to be Strength Moria. This unit never sees play. No, he goes down to a 9-turn cooldown for an attack boost and randomizes your orbs. No, just skip it. Just skip Moria. You don't need to. 1908. This old treble, okay, from the V2 Dofi batch. It goes down to a 10-turn cooldown. Okay, that's pretty interesting because this guy does a lot. Hero's Threshold and Rainbow Shield and increased defense all by 4 turns. He's got, those are the same defensive effects that Usohachi, Praline, and Bobbin remove, but he only removes it by 4 turns rather than 5. But then it says if you've got 6 Driven characters, you get a 2x attack boost to Driven. That's not bad, but I'd say like Driven aren't really one of the best classes. They're not one of the classes that are going around rampant right now. But I'd say if Driven eventually become like one of those GOAT classes, they get a really, really good batch of support units, this might be one to look out for. So I'd say keep tabs on this treble, that's for sure. Next is Van Orga, like just no, 1272, like this unit never sees play. 6-turn cooldown for an orb boost for shooters. That's not bad, but again, shooters aren't very good anyway, so it doesn't matter. And 1212 is going to be Franky, Strongwood Franky. And again, this isn't a unit that never sees play. 5-turn cooldown, okay. Yeah, and just some stats. So yeah, unfortunately, there aren't too many of these that are like really worth it. I think time skip Nami. I think the treble is interesting. Don't know if I would really suggest that one though. Chiffon is also very interesting, but again, I don't know if I'd really overall suggest that one. But yeah, I think time skip Nami is the only one that really caught my attention, because her going down to an 11-turn cooldown is pretty good. Like the rest of these units get like 1 or 2 turns of cooldown, but they just don't need it. Like Bobbin was already really low. Heartcharm was already really low. Perispera is already really low. Ein, she has double special, and her special cooldowns also just really low, just naturally by herself. Daifuku didn't need cooldown. Like a lot of these, you know, like Shirahoshi, she gets cooldown, but not as much as I would have hoped, unfortunately. And Praline, she doesn't need the cooldown either. Like a lot of these units just don't need it. And as for the legends, like Jinbe's really good, but the rest of them don't really need it either. And then Jack, I think, is definitely worth it if you have the available materials. So Jack, Jinbe, and then time skip Nami, in my opinion, are the best ones of all of these characters at the current point in time. Unfortunately, this limit break expansion doesn't seem too crazy. You know, the last couple of ones that we've got have been like crazy. Like one of them has, like, at least 1 or 2 of them have been like totally, yes, you must do them if you have the available materials. Unfortunately, not really the same case here, but I guess it is good because it lets you save up your materials to use them on other characters later on down the track. So that's going to wrap up this video today, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys did, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure to go ahead and do that because we're very close to 50,000 subscribers. It would be wicked if we're able to do that. So thank you so much for the continued support on the channel, guys. But other than that, I will see you guys within the next video.